So we are back with 3 Korean words that probably don't exist in your own language. Welcome to 5-Minute Korean. 안녕하세요, 여러분. So, the words that we prepared today are actually largely a reflection of Korea's unique social environment. So these words actually teach us that for us to be able to understand and have a good grasp of the Korean language, we also have to understand the culture where it is embedded. So the words on our list today are actually 신조어, or newly coined terms in Korean. So number 1, you have 섬다기. So this refers to that ambiguous part in a relationship when you're just starting out and neither of you is sure whether you're exclusively dating or not, whether you're actually together or not. So you both know that you share that same feelings towards each other, but no one really wants to initiate and talk about what's going on. So 섬 actually came from the English term something. So that's something you say when you're not sure what you're referring to exactly. And Tagi means writing. So probably writing onto the flow of whatever is going on at the current moment. So Koreans say he is my 섬남 or she is my 섬녀 when they're not yet official. Number 2, you have 과로사. So I believe Chinese has a term 过劳死 and Japanese has karoshi, both of which mean the same thing. So 과 in Korean means excessively, 로 refers to labor or work, and sa refers to death. So each of these syllables is actually a hanja, meaning it's a Sino-Korean word, meaning it has a Chinese origin. So when I first learned about this term, I was like, wow, they even have a word for that. But if you look at it, this shouldn't come as a surprise because 과로사, the case of 과로사, has already become a phenomenon in South Korea. So Korean corporate culture has often been characterized by frequent overtime, by a rigid hierarchical culture within the organization. You know how Korea is famous for the fast delivery service? They even call it rocket delivery. That's not always glitters and rainbows. So we're talking about this, we're discussing this, not because we want to paint Korea in a bad light, but because this should make us realize how languages are reflections of culture, and also realize how much language is molded by it constantly. So, the last word would be Ensemble. So this is a word that I recently heard from an episode in Padbang. So if you don't know Padbang, it is a mobile application of Korean podcasts. So I talked about it briefly in another video, which I will link here or maybe here. So ensemble refers to a person who is engaged in a couple of jobs, whether they be full-time or part-time. So N there is that same N you always find in mathematics. So that N that represents a specific number. Whereas the dub is from the English word job, and the law is the ER suffix we know in English. So that ER represents someone who is engaged in a particular activity, such as the ER in carpenter or the ER in dancer and singer. So in other words, ensamno refers to a person who is engaged in an N number of jobs at the same time. So, in a survey by Job Korea and Albamon, they found out that 3 out of 10 Korean workers, both of them in their 30s, are actually Ensemble, or they are engaged in 2 or more jobs at the same time. So about 90% of the respondents said that Ensemble will probably further increase or grow in the future because of the longer life expectancy and also the growing interest in jobs that don't set a specific age for retirement. So I'll link that article in the description box. So there you go, 3 Korean words that probably don't exist in your own language. Well, if they do, please do share it with us in the comment section below.